Ever wonder where that raw, frantic energy in heavy metal came from? That lightning-fast guitar riffing and thunderous drumming that makes you want to headbang until your neck gives out? Well, today we're diving headfirst into the mosh pit of history to uncover the story of thrash metal, a genre born from rebellion that went on to conquer the world. Our journey begins in the early 1980s, the time when the metal world was ripe for a revolution. On the US West Coast, particularly in the San Francisco Bay Area, a new, aggressive sound started to brew. Young musicians, fed up with the glam and commercialism creeping into heavy metal, were looking for something faster, heavier, and more authentic. They found their inspiration in a potent cocktail of sounds. First, you had the new wave of British heavy metal, or NWOBHM for short. Bands like Iron Maiden, Judas Priest, and Motorhead had already pushed the boundaries of speed and technicality. Their dual guitar harmonies and galloping rhythms laid the groundwork. Then, you mix in the raw, unapologetic aggression and DIY ethos of hardcore punk. Bands like Black Flag and the Misfits brought a chaotic energy and a rebellious attitude that the early thrashers immediately latched onto. The result? A sound that was faster than traditional metal and more musically complex than punk, a perfect storm of aggression. From this primordial soup of sound, the founding fathers of thrash emerged. You can't talk about thrash without mentioning the titans who built the scene from the ground up. In Southern California, you had Slayer, with their dark, intense, and blisteringly fast approach. And of course, Megadeth, formed by the fiercely talented and driven Dave Mustaine after his departure from another key band we'll get to in a moment. But the epicenter was truly the Bay Area. This is where Metallica got their start, blending intricate arrangements with raw power. Soon after, bands like Exodus and Testament joined the fray, each adding their unique flavor to the rapidly growing scene. And over on the East Coast, Anthrax was brewing their own brand of thrash, infusing it with a punk attitude and a unique sense of humor. These bands weren't just playing music. They were building a community, a brotherhood forged in sweat, leather, and loud amplifiers. So, what exactly defined this new sound? Thrash metal is all about adrenaline. The tempos are relentlessly fast, often driven by double bass drumming that sounds like a machine gun. The guitar work is defined by low-end, palm-muted riffing that's both technically demanding and incredibly aggressive. Solos are often chaotic, shred-filled explosions of notes, and the vocals. They were a far cry from the melodic singing of traditional metal, instead favoring a shouting, abrasive delivery that matched the music's intensity. Lyrically, thrash was a mirror held up to the anxieties of the era. The Cold War, political corruption, social injustice, and the horrors of war were all common themes. These weren't fantasy tales about wizards and dragons. This was real-world commentary, delivered with a confrontational, anti-establishment spirit that resonated deeply with a generation of disillusioned youth. This potent combination of sound and substance led to a string of legendary albums that became the cornerstones of the genre. In 1983, Metallica dropped Kill 'Em All, a raw, energetic debut that essentially served as the thrash metal mission statement. It was a declaration of war on the mainstream. Just a few years later, in 1985, Slayer unleashed Rain and Blood, an undisputed masterpiece of speed and brutality that pushed the genre to its most extreme limits. That same year, Megadeth released Peace Sells, But Who's Buying? An album packed with complex riffs and cynical, politically charged lyrics. And in 1987, Testament arrived with a legacy, showcasing a level of musicianship and songwriting that proved the Bay Area scene was a force to be reckoned with. These albums weren't just collections of songs. They were definitive statements that carved thrash metal's name into the history books. With these landmark albums, the scene exploded. The term the Big Four was coined, referring to Metallica, Slayer, Megadeth, and Anthrax. These four bands were the vanguards of the movement, taking thrash metal from the sweaty clubs of California to arenas and festival stages all around the globe. Metallica's Master of Puppets became a critical and commercial success, proving that this underground genre had massive appeal. Anthrax collaborated with Public Enemy, bridging the gap between metal and hip-hop. Megadeth and Slayer continued to release iconic albums that solidified their places at the top of the metal pantheon. Thrash was no longer an American phenomenon. It was a global movement, with influential scenes popping up in Germany, Brazil, and beyond. The cultural impact of thrash was just as significant as its musical one. It created a distinct identity for its fans. The uniform was simple ripped jeans, bendy shirts, high-top sneakers, and the all-important denim or leather jacket adorned with patches of your favorite bands. This wasn't just fashion. It was a tribal signal, a way to identify your fellow metalheads. Thrash also fostered a powerful sense of community through its underground network. Long before the internet and streaming, fans discovered new music through fanzines and, most importantly, tape trading. You'd make a copy of your favorite band's demo for a friend, and they'd send you something new in return. This DIY network was the lifeblood of the scene, helping bands gain international exposure without any support from major labels or radio stations. It was a movement built from the ground up, by the fans, for the fans. Like all golden years, the initial thrash wave began to fade by the early 1990s. Grunge riot the musical. Tastes shifted, and some of the original thrash bands began to experiment with different sounds. For a while, it seemed like thrash might become a relic of the bashes. But you can't keep a good thing down. In the early 1990s, the new generation of musicians who grew up listening to the Big Four and the Bay Area legends decided it was time to bring thrash back. This thrash revival saw new bands like Municipal Waste, Havoc, and Power Trip emerging, playing with the same speed, aggression, and old-school attitude as their idols. They weren't just copying the past. They were reigniting the flame for a new era, proving that the spirit of thrash was timeless. Today, thrash metal is more alive than ever. The founding fathers are still touring, playing to massive crowds, and proving they haven't lost a step. Modern bands continue to carry the torch, innovating while staying true to the genre's aggressive roots. From its humble beginnings as an underground rebellion to its status as a pillar of the heavy metal world, the story of thrash is a testament to the power of raw, honest, and uncompromising music. It is a sound that refuses to die, a legacy of speed and aggression that continues to inspire headbangers all over the world. Thanks for joining me on this trip down memory lane. What's your favorite thrash album of all time? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss our next deep dive into music history. Until next time, stay heavy.